Slow. Okay. All right, I'm going to call the meeting of the Personnel Administrative Affairs Committee to order. Today is Monday, May 4th, 2026. It is 7 p.m. and we are in the Aldermanic Chamber. This meeting has been duly noticed in 2 places, including the city's website in accordance with requirements of RSA 91A. Could my clerk please call the roll?
Sure. Alderman Thomas Lopez.
He's on his way.
Okay. Alderman Derek Tebow is here. Alderman Paula Johnson.
Present.
Alderman at Large Ben Clemens, Vice Chair.
Thank you. I am participating remotely. I can hear everybody in the room, and the reason is because I'm taking care of my wife who is ill.
Okay. Alderwoman at Large Shoshana Kelly, Chairwoman.
I am here.
Okay. We also have Megan Karen, who is here representing the mayor's chief of staff. It looks like we also have Library Director Jen McCormick, and online we have COO Director Tim Cummings.
I believe Alderman Morgan is also planning on joining us, so I'll keep an eye out for that.
Okay.
Okay, so we need roll call votes on everything.
We do.
Okay. We will go into public comment. If anyone would like to speak on anything we'll be acting this evening, please come to the microphone. State your name and address. Everybody don't jump at once. Okay. Communications.
We have one, but it's not on the script.
That is true. You could.
So we have a communication from Alderman Amber Morgan on the request to table the reappointment of Judy Carlson.
Make a motion to
Motion to accept into the record
place on file.
and
Yep.
place on file.
Heard the motion. Any discussion? All those in favor? Nope. Roll call.
Sorry, Madam Chairwoman. Did we get that emailed to us?
We did. Did you not get a copy? It's printed out in front of us.
I probably did, but I didn't get a chance to look at it. I can try to find my email. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry
you're
about that.
you're definitely on it. The committee's on it. And Alderman Amber Morgan has joined us via Zoom.
Hi. Okay.
Yep, and roll call.
Roll call.
Are we ready to go? All right. Alderman Derek Tebow says yes. Alderman Paula Johnson.
Yes.
Alderman at Large Ben Clemens, Vice Chair.
Yes.
And Alderwoman at Large Shoshana Kelly.
Yes.
We have 4 yeas and 0 nays.
That motion
Passes.
carries. Interviews.
All right. We have, for the Cultural Connections Committee, we have Julia Stryzenko. I hope I got that right. New appointment, 23 Meadowview Circle, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03062. Term to expire March 10th, 2029. You and Megan Karen come up.
You can come up and sit with us,
Yeah.
of course. And Megan
Anywhere.
will introduce you, and then we'll ask you some
Anywhere
questions.
but Tom Lopez.
Yeah, just don't sit in Tom's spot. Are you good?
It's over here.
Oh, that's right. He moved.
Over here. You're good. You guys are good.
You're good. Yeah. He used to sit right there. That's why I was confused. Okay, Miss Karen.
All right, thank you very much. For the record, my name's Megan Karen, Chief of Staff. I'm here on behalf of Mayor Donches, who couldn't join this evening. But I'd like to take a few moments. There are a few nominations before you. The first being Ms. Julia Stryzenko, which, did I pronounce your last name right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Oh,
That's
most,
fine.
okay. Mayor Donches would like to nominate her for the Cultural Connections Committee. She currently works at the Nashua Adult Learning Center as an ESL counselor and a career navigator. And before she was in that role, she worked as an ESL instructor, helping non-native speakers learn the English language. I understand she was also the founder of the New Hampshire School of Languages, Math, and Arts. And she is interested in sharing her experiences and her work with the committee to make Nashua a more inclusive community. So at this point, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Megan. My name is Julia Stryzenko, and originally I'm from Ukraine. I have been a Nashua citizen for the past 22 years, I'm a part of the Ukrainian community. It's not large, but its presence is quite notable. So we try to help Ukrainian citizens who arrived to the United States after the start of the war between, well, not between, after Russia attacked Ukraine. And also I am a founder of the language school for children, where we teach children the Ukrainian language and try to keep their interest in Ukrainian traditions and Ukrainian culture. But a part of this, being an ESL counselor at the Adult Learning Center, I work with people who came here from all around the world. Also, I'm a part of leadership of Greater Nashua program, and being a part of this program, it really opened my eyes on how Nashua works. So I've been a citizen of Nashua for 22 years, but I didn't know how the city operates. So
All right,
it's a
thank-
great place to live and raise children, and it's a great community, so I really would like to do more for the community.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm going to open it up to questions from the committee. Alderman Tebow.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So thank you, the first thing is thank you for stepping up. It's hard to get people that want to join these committees and to work towards a better Nashua, so it's great when we do have people that want to do that. And to your point about the Ukrainian community here in Nashua, when the war first broke out, we had gone and raised the flag out here, and I remember going to that event, and I was surprised that we had a Ukrainian community in Nashua. So, I think maybe the point of joining is to make sure people know of the Ukrainian community. So, I think that's it's great. I'm a big believer of people not losing their heritage just because they're American doesn't mean they have to lose the heritage that they came with, whether it was many generations ago or whether it's first generation. So thank you for stepping up. Have you been to a cultural connections meeting before?
Yes, I've been attending it for the past almost 2 years.
Okay.
Yes.
And a
Once a
follow-up?
month on Wednesdays, yes.
Okay. And my follow-up is, so what do you envision bringing to that committee that may be different than what's already there, like your point of view?
So as you mentioned, I would like to make the Ukrainian community more visible, but also I am a very outgoing person. I love to meet people. I love to talk to people, to learn more about their heritage, about their stories. I see right now, I've been attending the Cultural Connections Committee meetings for almost 2 years now.
Wow.
And again, I feel that the majority of Nashua citizens, they are not aware of even the existence of this committee, to be honest. So I've been talking to my friends, to my neighbors, to my colleagues, and I just would like to let people know that there is such a committee and what they do. So far, the multicultural festival that happens once a year, I think it's the only major event that happens in Nashua that brings people together. Not the only one, of course. We have farmer markets, we have the Christmas stroll, which is great. So I'd like to do more. I'd like to, yes, do more.
Thank you.
All set, Alderman Tebow?
I am.
Just noting for the record that Alderman Lopez joined us at 7:06. And his hand is up. Alderman Lopez.
You just gave me a smooth segue into the Tree Streets Block Party, which is also a cultural festival. So anybody who's interested in participating, including the cultural festival, is definitely welcome. I came in late. I heard the tail end of your resume. I'm already familiar with some of your work in the community. And I think your focus on engaging and educating the community in general is very much helpful. And then additionally, as you had said, willing to approach this from a learning lens, that there's more in the city to learn, like always. That's the point of living in a big city is, well, I wouldn't say big, but I mean, a city as diverse and multifaceted as Nashua, there is really always somewhere new to discover or someone new to find as a neighbor. To that end, we have not, to my knowledge, been able to fill the deaf culture membership. And then the Cultural Connections Committee has a unique challenge where it's one of our largest committees. So they struggle for quorum because you need a lot of people who are able to attend. So are you able to, number one, engage other members of the community to kind of meet the committee's needs in a practical way to make sure there's representation? And then, are you committed to being able to attend all the meetings in person as able so that they can reach their quorum?
Yes and yes.
All set, Alderman Lopez?
Yeah, I'd like, as others have said, I'm glad you're stepping forward, and I appreciate people who are willing to contribute, but I particularly think it's important for us to have some new voices and new opinions in some of these committees to kind of make sure that they're still being connected and still being relevant.
Alderman Clemmons.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to just briefly say thank you so much for your participation and willingness to serve on the committee. I think that your dedication and your what you seek to bring to the committee is going to further diversify it and help bring your community into our larger community, which I think is a very important thing. So I just wanted to say thank you, and you will be getting my support when this comes to a vote.
Thank you very much.
All set. I'll just add to that and say that I actually was on Cultural Connections for a bit, and I think that I agree with you on so many levels in terms of the diversity of Nashua and how important that is, and it's one of the reasons why I love this city. So when I saw your resume, I thought, wow, what a great fit, especially working with ESL and career navigation, a lot of different, you are connected in the community in a way that will really be a boon to this committee. So thank you for stepping forward.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be taking up your nomination in just a bit, so you're all set. Next.
All right, we have on for the planning board, we have Joseph McIntyre, new appointment as designee, term to expire May 12th, 2029, 40 Roy Street, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03060.
Ms. Karen, would you like to introduce Mr. McIntyre?
Yes, thank you. So this is Mr. Joseph McIntyre. He is the nominee for the mayor's designee for the planning board. He retired in 2020 from a career in, if I get this correct, electronics global commodity management.
Yeah, that's close enough.
Okay, close enough. Close enough is probably as close as I'm going to get. So he has served in various community and public service roles, including the Board of Education, the Boys and Girls Club Board of Directors, the Bishop Girton Advisory Board, among many others. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. McIntyre to introduce himself and share why he'd like to be part of the planning board.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thanks for letting me come and talk to you. I am retired. I worked for about 41 years in high tech. I started at Sanders Associates and was always in what they call commodity management. So my big focus was negotiation, okay? And I was responsible in my last 5 to 10 years for a spend of $3 billion. So that's a lot of money and a lot of responsibility, and had a lot of accountability to it, to give updates and to show that we were managing the company's money properly and cost savings and projects and things across the board. So I think I have a good appreciation for looking at things with a wide scope and then trying to also get through all of the details to what's really important, kind of like a Pareto view of life in the sense of, focusing on the significant stuff. I've grown up in Nashua. I lived here. I actually came here in December of '67, so I'm an old man, but I've lived in Nashua my whole life. One other thing that wasn't mentioned, which I think is kind of interesting, maybe as a side note, was I was a replacement alderman for 1 year when my alderman went to jail.
You actually just call those aldermen.
Excuse me?
Replacement. You're not a replacement, we're just an alderman.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I thought of myself as an alderman, but it was for 1 year because my alderman went to prison, and I said that I would not run in the next election so they could have a free and clear and open election. So that gave me a lot of look into the city government. Mayor Donchis was actually not even an initial mayor when I was there, and then he came in. So I've known him for quite a long time. I respect him a lot. I also want to say another thing about being a member of a board. I've been on a bunch of them in different levels of importance and scope. And to me, the number one thing that should be reminded is that you're a part of a team. You're not the voice. The voice is the board as a group, and no one really should be thinking that they control the agendas or the direction. So I would like to consider myself as a good team member and use all those skills from my MBA and Six Sigma and things like that to try to keep things moving along. But I know that consensus is the real key in trying to get to an effective board. So I don't anticipate myself being someone there with an agenda-driven view of life going into this if I get on.
Great. Thank you. I'm going to open up for questions from the committee. Alderman Tebow.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. So 2 questions. I'll ask them both at the same time, so I don't have to ask for a follow-up. So why the planning board specifically? Mm-hmm. And what do you view as the planning board's purview? Like, what's their responsibility in your mind of what they should be doing on the stuff that comes before them?
Just a reminder before you go, if you could just state your name when you speak for our transcriptionist.
Sure.
When there's new voices, it's hard for her. Thank you.
My name is Joseph McIntyre. Okay, so the planning board is, the reason why I did it, actually, sorry to give you a little bit of a story, but I have to. My wife has cancer, okay? And over the last year and a half, she was going through all of her chemo treatments and stuff at Leahy, and now she has a clear record, at least from scans, right? So once I got out of work, and other than doing volunteer stuff, I always thought that I would want to do something, right? But I don't think I could have ever been an alderman. I tried again once, but I'm an independent, and so I had no political affiliation backing me, and that was difficult to try to do. So I did a good job on my tribe, but I said, okay, that didn't work out, so that's fine. But then my wife got sick, and nothing mattered. Nothing mattered to me other than being with her. Anything else was secondary. So now that we've had this free and clear kind of view of life and trying to, move on and become, a citizen, I thought the planning board would be a good use of my skills. And also, I'm a geography minor, okay? And I know Carter Falk. We were classmates.
Oh, wow.
Half of that group, I think, is Plymouth State people. But I have an appreciation for, the concepts of place and community and region and all of the connectivities that those things have. And then the last thing about it is I think I do my homework, and I'm a worker bee kind of guy. I'm not impressed with people who are what I call resume patter type of people. You know, I was on these other boards, and people were on boards who had all kinds of resume as long as your arm on all these things that they're doing, but they didn't do a darn thing. They were just on these boards, okay? But when I was on them, I wanted to do something, okay? So planning board to me was an effective way to do it. Now, what I see the planning board's role is really important to me is, you know, I jumped into the strategic plan. I probably have read it maybe 10 times. And then I also, you know, went and did the subsequent other packages like the housing plan, the Tree Streets plan, the French Hill plan, the pedestrian plan, all that stuff. So I think I've done my homework to try to show that I can add value. And the last part of it I was going to say was, one of the things that I think might make me a little bit unique is that I'm not like committed to the industry, okay? Meaning like I'm not a traffic analyzer, I'm not a builder or a developer, anything like that. I'm just a concerned citizen in Nashua who wants to take a big view and see that we do the right things in the right ways and really rely on that strategic plan. Everything's got to go against that strategic plan to say whether or not we're really doing what we say we said we would do.
Great, thank you. Follow-up? I just want to follow-up comment. Thank you also for stepping up. Planning board's, I think, one of the tougher boards because I've sat on it briefly, and it's dense, some of the stuff that we go over in the planning board. But thank you for stepping up. I'm sorry about what happened. I'm glad your wife is free and clear for now. And it's hit this chamber. Cancer's hit this chamber pretty hard over the last few years. So my empathy is with you and your wife. So thank you for stepping up.
Alderman Johnson, then Alderman Lopez.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. McIntyre, for stepping up. I knew when I came in, you looked very familiar, and the name was very familiar. We go back probably way. But I'm going to go back into the boards that you sat on.
Yes.
And when you did a replacement, now, who did you replace on the board that went to jail?
Steve Kaczynski.
Oh, I remember. He was Ward 4, I think, or Ward...
It was Ward 4, but where my house is now is a different ward, but back then it was Ward 4.
Okay, good memory, you know?
Yeah, I checked because I couldn't remember the number for sure. It was so long ago.
But when you sat on this board, what did you like best about working with the other aldermen, that you felt that you really engaged with them, that you can bring that skill from here to the planning board? I know it was a long time ago.
Yeah, but it's still fresh in the sense of, see, when I first got on the board, the mayor at the time, Mayor Wagner, was saying, I'm really happy we have someone who aligns with a lot of the things I do. And I tried to explain when I got on and got accepted, I said, you know, I'm here for the residents of my ward and trying to do the best I can for them and then collectively the city. But one of the things that I remember most and that I was proud of was that I went across the aisle, even though there's not supposed to be an aisle, okay? I mean, I worked with all of the aldermen, wherever it was, to try to put something across the goal line. I didn't care what your letter was, okay? And that was really important to me. And then the other thing, ma'am, was that I don't know if I could ever do this again, but when I was also on the school board for 4 years before that, and that was how I became the alderman, because they knew me from that, right? But what I was proud of, even though this doesn't sound like much, but was I never missed a Board of Education meeting. I never missed a Board of Aldermen meeting. I never missed a committee meeting on the Board of Education or on Aldermen the whole time. Now, I'm older and frailer, and I don't know if I could do that anymore, but that was important. You got to show up.
90% of doing everything is
Yeah.
showing up, and you know, and I want to say thank you for stepping up for this. I think we need some more fresh faces on the planning board to take a look of, there's a lot that's going on in the city. Obviously, you did your homework, which is excellent, and I'm glad that your wife is doing much better.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman Lopez?
Yeah, just to start with, I appreciate what you were saying initially about when you're on a board, you're not an individual on the board, you know, as the current Ward 4 and not incarcerated alderman. I represent my community, but the board makes the decision. And I think people probably have noticed that I will sort of tongue-in-cheek often vote nay when we do the adjournment. And that's my way of reminding myself that this is a board, there is consensus, and even if I feel like my vote should be the one that everybody listens to, that's not going to be the case, and probably it's for the better. Otherwise, we'd never get out of meetings sometimes. So I appreciate that grounding, and I do think it's going to be helpful for the planning board itself. As was stated earlier, I was the liaison for the planning board, I think at least 2 times, and that is I think everybody there has to do their homework because they have so much of it. It's definitely a huge undertaking, and it seems like you're definitely ready for it. I like the background that you bring to it. Particularly the perspective that you consider yourself to be an independent rather than aligned with a political party. That's how I spent the majority of my terms as well. So I think it is important to just come at this from let's focus on the work, let's focus on the activities that we need to be doing, and not over clutter it with too much externalizing agenda. All that being said, are there particular things you think we can do better with the planning board? Are there things you want us to change?
Well, change is probably not the right way of saying it for me, but you know, when I'm reading this on purpose because I need the notes, okay? But you know, in the strategic plan, they had 6 zones of importance, right? And then within those zones, they go into all the initiatives and things that they can do to affect them, right? And for me, rather than saying all of them were important, right, which they are, of course, there were 3 that I found personally more of my interest level or focus, right? And of course, one is affordable housing, which I think if you're not really focused on that, you've got kind of a misuse of what we're trying to do in Nashua. But I also consider that like attainable housing. Affordable is a relative word, I mean, especially now. But is it truly attainable for the people that we serve, right? And right now, that bottom line answer is probably no, right? And so we've got to do something to find more ways to make it more applicable for median and lower income people, right? I'm lucky I have no mortgage, and I worked at a company that got me into a better life than I ever would have thought of as a kid from 8 kids in my family, right? But that to me is number one. The other 2 were land use and development. I kind of like the idea of reuse and rebuild and refill and all that. I really think there's still more opportunity there, and I don't know exactly, you know, how much because I haven't been there on the ground every day. But you know, when I drive around and stuff and see that, I say there's more that can be done just with that area alone, right? That maybe could be driving hard from the policy side of the city because it's stuff that's already there that you know that we can kind of entice people to go after rather than them starting from trying to find their own land or whatever. But that to me is one other one. And then the last one is kind of a little bit off in the corner for most people, but I'm a huge fan of the open space and natural resources in the environment. I told Alderman Tebow about where I live and how I have all this open area adjacent to me, and it's unbelievable, right, what I'm able to get out of that from the city. But I think that if we go forward and think about planning and requirements on developers and stuff like that, obviously you want to have stipulations in there that they've got to have green space and support on that. But I really like the idea of trying to focus on that a little bit more and then the bottom little far corner question was like traffic. I have this concern that I don't think Nashville's ready if there's a true disaster in the area. How do you get around? You know, I mean, the fire on Amherst Street was a good example. I mean, that was choked, you know, that whole area for like 5 hours, 4 hours, and if you really had problems and had to get in there or whatever, that was going to be a big deal. And so in my day, it used to be the Grace plant down by the mall. You know, what would happen if there was a spill there and everything. So I'm concerned that like our streets aren't really accommodating for that in particular, not just the obvious, you know, like street amenity type things of trees and things like that.
All right, so I appreciate all those answers. I'm pretty sold. I will say that, like, my agreement with your positions is not a prerequisite. There's plenty of other committee members. I mean, most recently, the planning board said stuff that I really didn't really agree with. But at the same time, that's why we have other boards, is to provide that diversity of opinion. But I very much appreciate the sentiments you had. To your point about the way affordable housing as a term is used, I would say more often than not, the HUD definition of it is used, and it's sort of swapped out with what people colloquially understand to be the term. So I think you're spot on with that. I think you're spot on with the land use, the emergency management. We have amazing first responders and emergency management planning, but I was also on Amherst Street when the building down the street blew up, so I was trying to get out of that situation, and I saw, would have been good to have like an artery road for this situation. So I think I don't necessarily look for agreement or lockstep in other committee members. I look for someone who knows what they're talking about, is prepared, and has reasoning behind the things they're saying. And it sounds like you have all of that. So I appreciate you stepping forward. I think this is a very good nomination.
All set? All right. I have some comments and questions. So thank you for coming forward. It sounds like you have good experience in the city and you've been in this chamber before, not as a replacement, but a full alderman. I wanted to ask you, what I found most interesting about your interview was you were talking about doing the homework, because I think attendance alone isn't enough, it's doing the homework. So one of the things we're doing right now in the city is a recode, which means that's going to affect a lot of your decisions. So how would you do the homework to be ready to start making decisions once that recode goes through?
Well, first thing what I know of, right, from talking to the team and stuff, is that there's going to be communications and touches throughout this year, right? So whatever becomes of what they propose, right, I think those outreaches and communications are going to be key, and in that they've really gone across a full scope of people to see the impact of any changes that they make, right? So I'm not an expert on the zoning rules and laws yet, and I'm not a lawyer either, but what I'm saying is if we make things easier for permitting for ADUs, or going up instead of out, things like that, I think those are all positive things that I hope get into the recoding, you know, with the, what do they call it, by right? By right zoning and stuff. So I think until I get into the real mess and the detail of it, I can't give a hard answer, but I think from what when talking to the city guys, they were amped up about the changes that they were going to be doing, and said that it was going to be really effective, and they were looking for like support, right? And I think, you know, they're the experts, right? And so our job is to support the experts if we can, right? And so I'm not going to try to come across as I know how to recode the zoning laws, but I know that I'll be able to look at them with critical thinking and analytics.
Great, perfect answer. I have no others. Oh, thank you. Alderman Clemens put his hand up while you were talking.
Hi, sorry. So I don't have any questions. I do appreciate, that's because a couple of them were taken by other aldermen, but I do want to say that I appreciate your commitment and coming forward. The planning board is no easy task. It's probably one of the hardest boards here in the city, and So I really appreciate you wanting to come forward and do that. And, your answers here tonight make me feel really comfortable that you're going to represent the city well, and you will get my full support.
Awesome. Okay. We will be taking up your nomination in just a moment. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
It is,
You want to skip the presentation until we do or do you want to do it?
let's do it in the order that was online, unfortunately.
Yep, all right, let's do it.
Weirdly, our outline doesn't have it, but we do have a presentation.
It's in there, so
Oh, it's already in there. Gotcha.
you just got to bring
Okay.
it, you just got to bring it up. You got the mouse.
Can you see what it says?
Office of Strategic Communications.
All right, so next we have a presentation on the Office of Strategic Communication from,
You just got,
I wanted to call you Director Karen, but that's not right. How do I make it work?
well, it's probably, it's behind this, so.
Okay, hold on one second. I didn't roll that.
Oh, yeah. Click on that.
Here?
Right there.
Can people see my screen?
You can ask. Alderman Clemens, can you see the screen?
I might have to share it.
No,
I think I just shared it.
now I can.
Now, oh, you
Now you
can?
can?
Yeah,
Now I can't.
because you're blocking it now.
Oh, I see. Just wondering if I need to share it in
You
the
just need to
Zoom or if I can
blow it up.
just.
No,
blow
you
it
shouldn't
up.
have to. Just blow it up and then put it in slide.
Yeah.
slideshow.
I'm a Mac.
Oh, click on that to maximize it.
This guy?
Yeah, and then slideshow
Okay.
from beginning.
Okay.
And then
We good?
get rid of that.
No, now it's gone. Oh, there it is.
Good? Do you have
Got
the
it.
clicker?
I don't have the.
Okay, I will, just let me know when.
Okay.
All right, great. I got it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, for the record, Megan Karen, Chief of Staff. I'm here today to give an overview of a new proposed office in the fiscal year 27 proposed budget. Just as a precursor, we're going before the Budget Review Committee in June, so I thought this conversation would steer more towards an actual overview of the office and not the numbers per se. Just as a brief, actually, if you could hit next slide. Yep. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Just an overview of what I'd like to discuss today with you all. First of all, why we're proposing this new office. I'd like to talk a little bit about what our communications as a city look like today and our vision for the future. In addition to the functions of the office, though I'm sure that will change, but that's just our idea in the current proposal in the fiscal year 27 budget. So first, why? Simply put, we know as a city that we need to do, you can hit the next slide, sorry. That we need to do a better job communicating with, engaging with, and educating our residents about the function of local government, full stop. I mean, I don't think, I'm sure you've all been on the receiving end of our residents feeling like they're not informed or they don't know what's going on. And so the first step is recognizing that and wanting to improve on it. And so we feel like this is a very necessary step in delivering the services that our residents deserve. Just to go over a little bit about what communications in the city look like today. Next slide, please. So right now, it's a pretty decentralized approach, and for the most part, communications are distributed across departments in different capacities, and each department does it differently. There are a few departments that have a dedicated communication specialist or someone who oversees it. There are some that have an employee that kind of informally does it. But there's not a centralized overarching strategy in terms of communications for the city. And what this ends up looking like is because it's a really big job, and we all have limited resources. And limited resources means that there's inconsistencies in the information that we're delivering. There's delays, there's information gaps, and there's outdated information. And I can, candidly share that as we're working on our website, we're finding more and more outdated information each and every day. Another point I'd like to touch on is that, as I'm sure you know, social media community groups are just where residents go to get their information. It's generally, it's where they go before city websites. And that's just kind of reality right now, right? And sometimes information is shared to, I'll say, the Nashua scoop sometimes faster than we can keep up with, good or bad. And I think that's a good thing. The scoop is a really big group and it's civically oriented. But it says a lot about what our official city channels are or are not doing. There's also an element of ChatGPT and AI, and those tools are really helpful, but I think they're not always accurate, and we have a responsibility to be putting out accurate information to our residents. Right now, we are pretty reactive, and we're not proactive, and we need to be proactive. Some of the feedback that we've received over the years, and I'm sure you have as well, residents feeling that they were informed of things too late, whether it's meetings or announcements or emergencies. Frustrations and distrust of local government just because we're not sharing it at the speed that we need to be, or we're not sharing it at all. They are unsure of where to look for information. They're feeling uninformed, or they're only hearing the negatives. We get a lot, at least in our office, why hasn't the city responded, or what is the city doing about this? And oftentimes we are doing something about it, but we're not sharing. I'd like to give a few examples that have come to mind. I think over the last year or two, for me, where something kind of triggered a thought, we could have done, or we should have done a better job, or this would be, where a communications office would be helpful. So the first example I'll give is the Sky Meadow incident. So I will say that our office, and I'm sure some of the emergency responders' offices, I received emails from national media outlets within 10 minutes, and I didn't even know the full extent of the situation. The mayor didn't know. This was before we were even there. And when we don't have someone coordinating all of that, there's misinformation and people don't know where to go. Literally, we had, I think, some miscommunication with where to send media, and folks online were hearing certain things, and that moves faster than any of us can really keep tabs on, and we'll never be able to beat that. But if we had someone just managing the crisis communication strategy, we might have been able to get ahead of it a little bit. On the flip side of that, I think when we did our debrief of that incident, an oversight on our end was the internal communication. So we were really focused on, obviously, the event and the community members involved that night, but we didn't take into account our city employees, who some were there, some were, and obviously this was a community event that was, folks were very intimately affected by this. And we could have done a better job communicating some of the resources to our employees about what was available to them, during a crisis. There are some, it's not always a crisis that we need to respond better in. Another example is when, I'm not sure if you remember, but some of the tax envelopes, there was a printing error, and so a fair amount of people got the wrong tax envelope. So we needed to get information out, but we didn't really have a plan as to how to do that the most effective way. So we had a lot of residents really concerned about, they just dropped a check in the mail, where is this actually going? And there are good things too, service updates. For example, the improvements downstairs in motor vehicles when you check in. That's a great service improvement that we didn't really advertise well. And so, I could go on and on, but those are a few of the examples that came to my mind. Next slide, please. Just to talk a little bit about the vision of the office. So, vision, mission statement. The office would be dedicated to a few different things, but the three pillars are increasing community awareness, boosting civic participation, and building public trust. And that's through proactive communication to informing and engage Nashua's residents, visitors, and businesses. So what would this actually look like? I think as a city, we need to start sharing information as an organizational value and not a clerical function. So that goes beyond announcements or notices, right? And that's a really big job. How do we do this strategically? We need to communicate with service-oriented intention and not episodically. So not just, when something bad happens, or we should have said this, or actually we can fix this by doing this. It's not just the good and it's not just the bad, but it's the information that helps residents make decisions and become informed about what's going on in their community. As you know, our residents pay a lot in taxes, and they deserve to know what their money is doing for them. So however we can best communicate that, I think is in our best interest. And I think one of the biggest issues that we've struggled with is providing that information in a consistent, cohesive, and accessible manner. We all try our best, but there's not a real cohesive approach as to how we're going to do this. And so just going back to kind of what that communication looks like right now, a lot of times there's some inconsistencies or gaps in information. And then lastly, the vision point I'd like to touch on is communicating through the entire process cycle and not just the decision phase. So I think the best examples, but not the only, would be during like capital and infrastructure projects or development projects. But also, perhaps like community meetings, maybe around like a contentious issue. One that comes to mind is when there was the relocation of the encampment to Crown Hill. That happened really quickly, and we could have done a better job communicating that. And the neighborhood was really upset because they didn't feel like they knew what was going on. Next slide, please. So functions of the office. One thing I do want to make clear is that, as I said before, every department either has like an informal person who kind of like does their social media or all that type of stuff, or an actual communication specialist. And that's not taking the place of, it's just coordinating the bigger picture and creating a larger strategy or plan and supporting what those other departments are doing. Coordination is really the key here. A few other things that we envision the office doing, like I had mentioned earlier, crisis communications protocols, website content management, that needs to be done consistently and not just when we're updating our website. And that in itself is a full-time job, but we're not there yet. Some community engagement efforts. I think every community struggles to engage with their residents and really get that feedback that everyone wants and is looking for, but having, an office dedicated to that is only, one step in the right direction. Lastly, brand management, media coordination, and then assisting with either public information campaigns or other department engagement efforts. I think I covered everything there. Lastly, like I had mentioned, I don't want to go too deep into the budget. The budget is only a few lines anyways, but this budget is one position, a communications manager, to be hired in January. And it's really just the first step of hopefully building out a more comprehensive office over time. This person is going to have a big task ahead of them. And so we kind of envision them coming in and laying the foundation and the groundwork for a communications plan and a strategy to hopefully move us forward in the right direction. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Alderman Tebow.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is like our very own Caroline Levitt, right?
Sure.
I'm going to say two things that are opposite, that I believe both of them, right? I don't think our communication in general is very good, and for many reasons. You know, I look at something like the Sustainability Fair. It was published and it was out there, but it was when Alderwoman Kelly mentioned it in here that I was like, oh, that's coming up next weekend, that I was like, oh, I haven't seen that anywhere. And as everybody knows, I publish a newsletter, for better or for worse. And so I try to put those things out there because I want people to hear that there's things going on too. So I'm trying to communicate as much as I know to my ward. And but something like that is something that usually gets promoted pretty well. And I'm like, that wasn't really promoted enough, in my opinion, to get people there. And I wasn't able to go, unfortunately, so I don't know how it went. But, and even afterwards, well, how did it go? Let's see some pictures of it. Let's get people excited about next year's, right? And, you know, sometimes I'll see good communication on the library, for instance. I'll look at their website to see what's going on because oftentimes they have stuff that maybe should have gone through the city. And also with communications that are not necessarily meetings or things like that, is I feel like we, you know, even internally, the aldermen don't often get communications that I feel like we should know about before it hits the news, and then all of a sudden we're getting stuff sent to us before we even know what's going on, right? And I know there's some quorum stuff, so we can't do it, so we have to rely on Donna and the mayor and stuff like that to get things sent to us. So that's one side. The other side is, oh man, budget, we're adding a person. Is there an offset for this person, or is it an additional ad?
It is an additional ad, yes.
Okay. And that concerns me just because obviously, you know, budget time's here, we're trying to be careful. I mean, has Nashua ever had this type of position ever in its history? Obviously, websites and social media weren't a thing before.
No, they haven't. So on that department level, yes, but not that organizational communications. I was doing some research and looking at different municipalities in New Hampshire. I know Portsmouth has a dedicated director for it. Keene does a really good job of for their comms, but I don't think I think it might be their assistant city manager, but don't hold me to that. I would say that this model is probably more common in Massachusetts, but Massachusetts is bigger. But just to go back to your points, I 100% agree with everything you just said. So thank you for sharing.
And follow up. Thank you for that. So, I mean, just pull up a Telegraph from like 1990, and you'll see the amount of stuff that's going on in the area and the stuff, not just the stuff that the city does, but they were promoting like all the nonprofit stuff, and it was a great place to go daily to see what was going on, and people knew, oh, this is coming out on Saturday, we can go do this on Friday, and we just don't have enough of it. And I examples of like, and I know we can't do these anymore, but flag raisings, right? Hey, the Greek flag raising for independence is next Saturday. We don't really put that out there in the world. We put it out to us last minute because the mayor couldn't do it. Otherwise, I don't know if I would have known it was there, right? And I think that's something that's a community event that would be great for other aldermen to show up and other people to show up, and maybe people who are Greek didn't know that we have something like this, and they're not in tight with the Greek community. So it's definitely a need. How much is it a need based on how much we can spend on the budget? So I am a big, strong supporter of good communication, online, Facebook, and I'm not great at it. I'm just saying I'm great in the fact that I want it. And, Inkling does a great job, but they're not a newspaper as far as the amount of stuff you can put on 50 pages of newspaper, right? So I'm a big supporter of that, but then again, how do we fit it into the budget? So I'm torn on it. I'm leaning that it's something I think we really need and want, but I just got to balance it with the budget side for me. So that's where I am right now on it. Thank you.
Okay, Alderman Lopez, you can go next.
You said me, right?
I did.
Okay, it was very quiet. So I guess I don't fully understand the makeup of the mayor's office at present. Can you tell me what his staff members have and what they do?
Yes, sure. So just to clarify, this wouldn't be a member of the mayor's office. This would be a completely new office.
Okay.
So right now in the mayor's office, it's myself, chief staff. We have the constituent services coordinator, and then we have the communications and events specialist. And that's a really great example of that employee doing communications for the mayor's office, but not the city overall. Same with Parks and Rec. They have a communications specialist that does it just for that office, for that department, but there's no one creating the overall strategy. And just to speak to your point, Alderman Thibault, one possible responsibility of this office, best practice in some comms offices in municipalities is, a director or manager will sit down with each department and create a master calendar of everything that's going on, everything that needs to be put out there. So it's that type of thing that this office would do. It wouldn't, it's not just like a press or a press release or a social media post. It's a lot more comprehensive. So just back to your original question, this is a new office.
Who does it report to?
It does report to the mayor.
Okay, because I thought we had a communications specialist and a constituent services, and I mean, I would love to coordinate and improve our communication. I think one thing that was not mentioned is the website it's getting better, but it's still kind of a hot mess. But there's a lot of competing voices in it when you have, Public Works trying to announce that there's paving issues going on. Every now and then, Pennachuck is letting people know that they're flushing hydrants.
Sure.
You have 20 million community events and community organizations that are all independent. You have some that are run by the mayor. So at some point, I don't know that we're not communicating. I think for the public, it's probably more like drinking through a fire hose, because when I point them at the website, they get lost down 27 different rabbit holes and then come up with even more questions when all they were looking for is, when does the Human Affairs Committee meet, or when does the whatever. So from what I've seen, it's never a simple answer. I do believe from what I've seen that the mayor's office has tried and is configured to be communicating with the public. But I guess my only concern would be if this is on the city side, one of the biggest donut holes is with respect to National Police. They will respond, or they will announce things when they need us to know things. Their public information office will tell us when they've arrested somebody, and they'll tell us about the Granite Shield. They will not tell us when suddenly all the neighbors around Ledge Street are saying the school's on lockdown and there's a shooter running around. No comments are made, no public announcements are made until well after the event. So is this an opportunity at least to get some basic information about okay, well, there was concern and they're investigating, but just stay out of the area, or, maybe in some cases, I've called because people were concerned about something they saw, and it was over and done with hours before they saw it, and there was no threat, but there was no announcement that this is done, it's over.
I think I don't want to speak for Nashville Police, but my answer right now would be yes, it could be. So it would be that person that's coordinating it, but not speaking for the police. So it's the method behind it. Something as simple as, and this is a silly example, and I don't know what, just maybe think of this. We had an emergency plumbing issue in City Hall over the winter.
Yeah.
And, we posted on our website, we posted on Facebook, but then we needed to post again that we were open, and we were like, oh yeah, well, we have to post that. So all that being said, we wouldn't necessarily be posting for the police, but we might be doing the follow-up or the coordination of some of that messaging. And that's just a very preliminary example.
Well, in that example you gave earlier about the issue at Sky Meadow, and then I don't know if we brought that up, if you brought this up, but one of the previous speakers brought up the explosion on Amherst Street. even like the 3 cars that went through like 2 weekends later. Those are things the community wants to know are resolved when they're resolved, or wants to know to avoid the area. And we don't really have this is something that's going on kind of a situation. They have to go to WMUR, they have to go to, Ink Link. And I mean, your mileage varies wildly from agency to agency. And WMUR might be providing ongoing, we're walking through the situation coverage of one thing and then not even a blip on the radar for another. So, I mean, I think it would be good for the city to have a more coordinated communication plan. I think it would be great if, as Alderman Tebow had said, we could actually find some poor sacrificial lamb to get out there and regularly announce things that are happening, knowing that that person is going to be who everybody asks for answers. But I think at the very least, developing an improved and up-to-date communication strategy is very important. We've already, I think 2 years ago, I was sitting where you were, and I remember hearing Alderman Jetty point out that we have some major flaws in even just how we announce site plan changes or improvements. Is basically it's just someone sticks a sign up, so unless you're driving by, you don't see it. So I think there's a lot of areas where the city can improve its communication. I'm definitely in favor of those. I do think this is a tough budget year, so I just want to make sure we're fully vetting every idea and that it will have the buy-in from the departments to really make it effective, successful. Sorry.
All set, Alderman Lopez?
Yep.
Alderman Johnson?
Thank you. I'm going to ask the chairwoman that whenever we have a presentation, can we make sure that I have a paper copy? Because I have a hard time seeing the screen at times.
Generally, they bring them to the meetings, so you can get it afterwards, but I can ask in advance when they're ready.
I apologize. Afterwards, I could go print you a copy if you'd like.
It's okay, really, the full board needs to have a copy of this.
Yes,
too,
yep.
You know?
Yeah, I want to point out the irony of me using a telescope to see the word vision.
Yeah, and I couldn't even see.
It cut me deep.
I know that sometimes they're working hard to get it ready right in time for the meeting, so.
That's an oversight on my part. I apologize.
Okay, so I have some questions here. This position, what are you anticipating the salary to be on this position?
The salary, full year salary, about 100,000.
100,000. And I'm just going to make this comment. Didn't we just cut the affiliated employees' raises this year, $420,000? They can't have it this year when the Board of Aldermen gave it to them last year. The mayor's taking it away this year. I mean, I have a real problem with this, bringing in a new staff member when we have people who work hard and dedicated, that we just took their money away. So I'm going to tell you this right up front, $100,000. And yet we have other departments that are doing this. Why aren't we taking the departments and coordinating them into one department? So we have one in DPW, we have one in the mayor's office. I mean, why aren't we just taking the staff that we have and bringing them together, making one department, and they're all working together versus different departments, and you're going to have one person in charge of everything to do everything now?
That's a good question and a valid question. I think each person in each department, they're the specialist in that department. And so bringing them all together into one department may sound like a good idea, if that's what you're proposing, like pulling them out of each individual department and making a new office?
Well, overlapping the services. That's called overlapping. And when you work for corporations, you don't tend to overlap like this because you're looking at what is the best way we can get our employees to work and streamline everything. The problem is we don't streamline. We have overlaps. So you have IT, perfect example, you have IT here and you have IT in the school district. And we're paying the same departments the same money. And why aren't we coordinating this to combine it into one department and they're all working underneath the same umbrella and they all can work together to get all this information out? So it's not just DPW that's sending it out, it's them sending it out together and working together to make sure everybody has the same calendar to send it out, so the residents of this city aren't getting it piecemeal, they're getting it together without hiring another person for $100,000 a year plus benefits.
Does that
Does it make sense?
It does. I wasn't sure if that was a rhetorical question, or if you wanted me to respond as to why we're bringing someone in that would oversee all of that.
I'm sure you have qualified people that can do that now. We have very talented people who work for the city, that I'm sure that they can do it. And if we don't try to find them within our organization here, I think we're doing a disservice to the citizens of the city in many ways.
I mean, I appreciate the feedback. What I would say is that our employees work extremely hard and are already overburdened. I'll give you an example. If we could hire one person just to manage the website, that could be a full-time job. We don't have anyone right now. In fact, it's an employee from IT and myself really weeding through the content. So I understand what you're saying, but I think from our perspective, we need that one person to look at the big picture. Because we could put each specialist in one department, but they would still function separately. So that's really where we're coming from with this.
So may I follow up?
Yes.
Thank you. So you're going to hire a manager for $100,000 to do a website, when you can have other people, you could probably get somebody for less, somebody coming out of college to do a website. I mean, I couldn't do a website because I'm not talented with that, but you could probably get somebody coming out to do a website and work with everybody else, and they all can still be together and coordinate everything under one umbrella. And they're all working on their different things in the department, but they're coming together to make sure that everything is coordinated and with the website.
I just want to clarify, this position isn't just running or managing content for the website. It's doing a lot more than that. What I was trying to convey is that there's so much work to be done that managing content on the website could be someone's full-time job, and not at that salary. That's not the direction we're trying to go in. But that, I was just trying to use that as an example as to there's a lot of work to be done, and that's why we feel we need another person at a managerial level.
May I continue? Yes?
Are you going to ask a question?
I don't know. I'll see what comes out of my mouth. Is there a problem with that?
It wouldn't be on topic for our agenda.
I mean, this really, how wouldn't it be?
Well, we're not just supposed to talk in discussion, we're supposed to ask her questions
Well, I kind of
on this
answered the
topic.
question. It is on the topic. Never mind.
We'll see.
I'll save this for budget time. That's all. Thank you very much.
I just add one thing.
Alderman Tebow.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I just wanted to add, the 100,000, Ms. Karen, you said starting in January.
Yes.
So this budget season, it's hitting 50,000, is that correct?
Right, yes.
Is that when the unaffiliated's also going to get their raise in January? Is that,
No.
or is it not at all this budget, the following year? Okay.
So unaffiliated would get theirs in the beginning of July. They just don't get that step.
Oh, gotcha.
Yep.
And then this is only 50,000 to this year's budget. Then going forward, it'll be the 100,000.
Correct. And that's
Okay.
that's budgeted, so it really depends on the person's experience and things like that. So that's not a hard and fast, it's
Gotcha.
a range.
Understood.
But I mean, I certainly appreciate the conversation in terms of budget. I would like to point you back to an email that we all received last Thursday from a constituent who talked about how they opened TikTok and saw a creator from Merrimack talking about a Board of Education meeting, and that it wasn't necessarily complimentary, and that the video made it seem like that the superintendent was trying to segregate special education students. And she also mentioned that she's seen similar videos, criticizing our response to the homeless population. Now, we're not here to stifle anyone from criticizing us. That's not the job. But the email kind of went on to say that, she was concerned and she went to watch the full Board of Ed meeting, which was 2 hours. And she said that she was really glad that she did because she learned a lot, and that there was a larger discussion, and that actually isn't what was going on at all. That kind of clip made it it was a little bit of a spin to it. I actually have the email right here. So she had said, I have no idea about the good things happening in Nashua, and I think that is a huge disservice to the community and ultimately to those who serve in our local government. I'm so glad that I watched the entirety of that meeting because I also saw a larger discussion from the BOE about how the budget forces their hand in one direction or another in order to make do with resources available. I also saw that there was going to be a bench donated for Chuck Gray, which I was warmed to hear. He was a teacher of mine in 7th grade and had a profound impact on everyone I knew. But honestly, I'm not sure why I needed to listen to a full 2-hour meeting in order to hear the good news about a bench and the discourse about the challenges created by the state budget and funding. And so I share that with you because I just thought it was really a coincidence in timing. But that's kind of where we're at right now, is that our residents are opening social media and, good, bad, or indifferent, that's what they're getting. And so we're trying to do a better job managing that, and that's going to take some serious coordination from someone who is qualified to do this. And so we feel that is a full-time job.
Okay, I'm going to weigh in here because I am in communications and I have lots of thoughts put down in front of me. So I know we talked a little bit earlier, and I said I think that the department itself makes a lot of sense, and I think you've pointed to a number of opportunities where we could have responded better. I can come up with a couple others, like when the Bearcat picked up the kid at my kid's school, and everybody thought that there was a really bad thing going on, but it was just a kid who got some prize. The next time they communicated it in advance, so it was great. But I also echo the concerns I have about it being a really tough budget season, and wanting to address what let's just like brass tacks, what you just talked about, that email. Controlling the narrative is so important, especially in a time when there are these little easy spins and bits that can be put out there and take it in a totally different direction. I think that is absolutely correct, and I think your presentation hit on a lot of reasons why we need to have more of a streamlined and collaborative approach to communications. I could go on my soapbox about the website. I'm going to say 2 things about the website. One of the biggest problems we have is we've used a company that only does government websites to build our website. So if you keep doing that, you keep getting the same response. But that's just my own personal experience, because that is what I do for a living, and I think it doesn't have to be that hard. Couple of questions I had. So I wanted to know what your thought was around collaboration with city departments. You touched on it a little bit, but if you go back to some of the things that we've talked about, I think it's really important that, the police officers or the fire department and all of those things are talking and we're bringing the same thing forward. Mm-hmm. So do you see this department doing that? I'll start there.
Yeah, so in terms of like a unified messaging?
Correct.
Yes. Yeah, so, and this isn't my expertise, so I'll do the best I can, describing this. Maintaining each department's individual messaging while assisting them in carrying out that messaging. So if anyone knows, for example, Alderman Tebow, you mentioned that there wasn't any follow-up to the sustainability fair, which is a great point. But that follow-up means someone going and taking photos and then creating content and then getting that content out. The folks doing these tasks or running the fair, they can't do that. There's just not the capacity. So this department would assist in that, but also making sure that the individual messaging is cohesive with the overall messaging, whether it's timing or branding. And I don't really want to get into branding right now because
you don't want to.
It's really not that important right now. So I don't know if I just made it more complicated or if I kind of answered your question.
You started to scratch at the surface what I was getting at, so that's fine. The second thing I have on my notes in front of me is aldermanic communication. As leaders in this community, people come to us, especially in those times of crisis. So how do you see this department, working with us?
It's a great question. So I'll go back to Sky Meadow. I had to stop and say, before I left to come down here, I have to email the Board of Aldermen. And obviously happy to do that. Everyone else is busy at the site. But just having someone to manage that and actually be the person to think of doing that. And that sounds silly to say, but that goes way beyond, this is whether it's an event or, something happening in a certain neighborhood or a certain initiative that we're working on, and we just haven't thought to share that with our elected officials. And it's, there's no ill intent, but I go back to, there was an employee for one of the federal delegation, and he had called about community power and was asking some questions about it, and he said, Nashua does so many great things, we just don't hear about them. And it's just having that one person to coordinate all of that. So it would be, the day-to-day things, but also the big picture things too.
Yeah. Okay. One final question I have, and then I think Alderman Lopez has a question. So I looked at that salary, and I assumed it was a manager versus a worker bee. Do you have a jobs description prepared, and can you bring it by the time I get it to budget?
We have a draft, so yes.
But you're definitely looking for someone with
Yes. Yeah.
10 to 15 years of experience.
I'd say 7 to 10. But again, it's a draft, so we really have to kind of vet through it more. Right now, we have what this person would be, kind of categorically what they would be responsible for. So in terms of experience, and again, that's a budgeted a range. So, but certainly, I don't envision this person to be a worker bee. They need to have the experience really running an office and executing on some of those long-term goals.
One more follow-up. Did we consider at all doing a consulting opportunity instead of a full-time staffer that we're going to have to fund every year in the budget?
So I would say no, only because I would see us going we could, right? But we would then be continuously outsourcing more just for content, I would assume. And I'm thinking that would probably cost more in the long run. But we don't have that granular plan that we need to execute on, and that's where I would see us maybe using a consultant, creating a plan. So that's where we're at in terms of bringing someone on versus, but I certainly, and there are some municipalities who do use a consultant to do all of their comms.
I just bring it up because I think that it's a potentially, if you're bringing in someone senior to sort of oversee, you might be able to do it at a lesser cost for someone with more experience.
Sure.
Who can then spread it out to the worker bees, the other communication specialists that are already working in the city. So just a thought I had. I'm going to let Alderman Lopez ask this question now.
As this is a discussion, I'd like to see some more clarification and description and some more guardrails. Particularly the concern that I have is, as we were talking about the school board's position, and I have heard the superintendent express multiple times that he is subject to the whims of the budget, I have also expressed, in my role as alderman, they don't come to us with the budget they need. They make decisions before we ever see them and then tell everybody in their meetings that we wouldn't allow them to do things that were never put in front of us. That's my truth versus how he sees it. So this is potentially a very slippery slope if we start to talk about trying to conceptualize the meetings. And if we tell a person, oh, well, you don't have to watch the whole 2-hour meeting, here's our summary of it. You're looking at entities like the Board of Public Works is an elected board that oversees public works. You have the National Library of Trustees, the Police Commission, the Fire Commission, the Board of Aldermen. There's a lot of different entities that if we coordinate the overall city communication, we would have to make sure that all of them have some kind of, equal access if they're going to be represented, and I'd be worried about that. And I do agree that we definitely need to improve communication, and I appreciated particularly the way you phrased, we need to move away from the clerical obligations of it and move it to actually informed communication. I just would want to make sure that we steer clear of narratives or overly summarizing things instead of pointing to sources or resources and saying, there was a meeting, this was discussed, this is a topic, go research it.
Right. If I may. Great point. We can certainly provide more clarity on that. I don't envision this position really summarizing anything that the school district does, just because they're such a large entity and they do have a comms director, if not director manager. So while, I mean, this email that, where the constituent saw the clip of the school board meeting was a great example of how we kind of get ourselves into these positions. That's not something we would necessarily be working on because that's the school board and the school district. I hope that makes sense, but.
Well, we do it too. I mean, the Board of Aldermen is getting to be legendary for the length of some of our meetings. And it comes down to, with respect to the chair, and I am one myself, like, we do need to run our meetings so that discussions stay on point and the public watching is like, okay, they're still talking about this versus going everywhere with things. And maybe that's what they saw at the Board of Public, or the Board of Education meeting, maybe not. But I do think that just the idea that I shouldn't have to watch the whole meeting, in some respects, is contradicted by the fact that they found something they didn't know about because they watched the whole meeting.
Right.
And the only way somebody would have said, oh, hey, by the way, the Chuck Bunch is going out there, is if they thought to tell that person, because I'm sure some of the other Board of Education people commented on it, it meant a lot to them, people came up with those ideas. There are a lot of things that we do in our city that, to the people that are organizing them, they mean a lot. Like, for me personally, I was all over the place with like, hey, we're recognizing Sue Mead, she's been doing outreach for 30 years. We don't have these people doing these things anymore. Let's all recognize that. That's important to me, so that's what my message was. But in a citywide, like, an attempt to try to point people towards it, if we get too far afield of just saying what's going on and what departments, then I would be more interested, I think, in somebody who's overseeing a unified strategy. When we talk about those crisis situations, I had thought emergency management would be putting out, things and saying things. And the response I got typically when I reached out was, oh, they're in the middle of managing the crisis. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. But then who's managing the communication? So there's definitely gaps in the communication that have been described. And I think maybe the only guardrail I would look at is are they going to be presenting the communication strategies to us before they start speaking on our behalf? And are they going to go to all the other groups and kind of build that consensus? And I don't know precisely if that's what Alderman Kelly had in mind when she was saying a consultant, but it might be a good idea to assess our communication and the gaps before we create a position to address them.
I'll just respond. I think that every time we communicate, there's some sort of, background to what we're saying. But the idea of controlling the narrative is a communications, like, it's words that we use to talk about, like, being ahead of the story. It's not about the narratives in the way that it's currently become publicly. It's more about, were we already talking about it? Do we have the trust of people? Are we, balancing being behind it, like you were saying, reactive versus proactive makes a huge difference. So just wanted to, when I say controlling the narrative, it's not about.
I think it would make sense to have a place that people could go to find all of these things that is accessible, and that's a whole job in and of
Like a
itself. Because
website?
there's a Nashua Reddit that's just running amok. There's Discords. There's all kinds of different things, and we could pay a staff just to go find out what people are saying about Nashua, and then just redirect them back to whatever. Like I said, I would want to see a little more detail about how this will be used, because it's going to be representing a lot of different perspectives.
It's part of the other reason I brought up a consultant, because they become a third-party expert who doesn't necessarily have direct
Any skin in the
ties.
game, yep.
Correct. And can be a little bit more neutral, is one of the things that I was considering. But we're just having discussion. I came into this fresh, didn't know what you were going to say tonight, so just food for thought. I see Alderman Clemens' hand up. Sorry for, thank you for being so patient.
Oh, no, thank you. It's been a great discussion. I was interested, though, just for the record, I was interested to hear what the rest of what Alderman Johnson was saying, but I will say for myself, I think that the biggest thing is that we have neutrality in this. The city obviously, you know, does a lot of things. There are a lot of different topics. There's a lot of different agendas depending on who you're talking to and what is going on. And I think, you know, it's important to present facts as facts and to leave opinions on the side. And I would hope that this position would do that.
Great. All right, if there are no further questions, thank you for the presentation. Sounds like we have some follow-up information we'd love to see when it comes to budget.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, back to our agenda. Oh, you want you're supposed to drag it, you're gonna ruin it.
Oh, sorry.
Madam Chair, can I make a point of personal privilege?
Alderman Lopez.
Megan.
Just to clarify, I didn't think I meant to show you Alderman Johnson. I was answering that we should stay on topic because I wasn't sure what you were going to say next, and I was just encouraging you to stay on the topic. I didn't mean to silence you or anything. So I apologize if that's how that came
I was
across.
going to stay on topic, but that's okay, thank you. That's okay. It's all good. I don't take it personally.
Okay. Application to license hawkers, peddlers, itinerant vendors license.
There's none.
Appointments by the mayor.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to recommend the following reappointment to the Arts Commission, Judith Carlson, with a term to expire April 1st, 2029.
You've heard the motion. Discussion on that motion. Alderman Morgan.
Thank you. UFC, I hope that there is a letter in front of you that I had submitted to the committee, and I also would like to speak to that a little bit. So as you guys know more than anyone else, it can be tricky to fill board seats. It can also be tricky to get quorum if those board seats are not filled. One of the best things that we can see is the continuance of the stewardship of our city through these committees, and specifically with the arts community, as art is always evolving. So Judith Carlson has served in this committee for 3 terms and has really done an incredible job. And it has now come to a point where we're ready for what next. And the board chair, as we've seen in public comment before, really has created a special committee where she's been able to get outreach and people to come up and show up to speak, a lot of people to speak, just for a $30,000, more than what we have seen for asks for $400,000, $1 million and more. The other thing that the chair has done extremely well is has started to build a deck, right, of who to serve next as members do term out. And she has 3 people that are currently waiting to fill those seats. So I would like to request that we indefinitely table or propose that we table the reappointment of this person, not for lack of showing up to meetings, she does that, not for lack of contributing, she does that, not for lack of being a part of the arts community. She has served on other arts communities, or currently serves on other boards, but simply because it is time. So I appreciate your thought and consideration on this.
Thank you, Alderman Morgan. I see Alderman Clemens' hand up.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Alderman Morgan. I have a question to Alderman Morgan through you, Madam Chair.
Yep.
Have you spoken to, or has the chairman or or the mayor, anyone spoken to Judith Carlson about this, and how does she feel about it?
Yeah, thank you
Alderman
for that
Morgan.
question. Yep, thank you, Madam Chair. So The chair has laid out basically what she sees as the next several years within. They do have a whole arts plan, a master plan, if you would like to review that. And so she has said it's time for us to bring in fresh faces. She did speak to Ms. Carlson about that, who said, well, it's not your decision, it's at the direction of the mayor. And so the chair and I have sat down with the mayor, and we did ask and laid out the same thing. And he had said I would think about it, and then we saw, as you saw, that she was just put forth for a recommendation. It is against the chair's request to have this person fill and be automatically reappointed.
Also,
Yeah, can I follow up?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, I need to follow up. So I respect that opinion, but generally speaking, I don't like to, the mayor wants this person there. I think, that the person wants to be there. As you've stated, they're doing a good job. It's a position that I think a solution to this problem, if you want to expand the committee to add members to it, because you want a greater depth, that might be a better solution. That way you're not kicking somebody off of the committee who's contributed over the years. I don't think just because somebody I don't believe in term limits in general, and I don't think that just because somebody has been on a committee for a certain period of time that it's time to move on. I think there has to be some merit behind it. And from what I hear from what you're saying, it sounds like this is somebody who is engaged, who wants to be engaged, attends all of the meetings. And so I'd be hard pressed to vote against their appointment. I think, again, if the goal is to add different voices, then we should look at maybe expanding the membership of that committee instead.
All set, Alderman Clements. Alderman Lopez.
I think it's our job to confirm the mayor's appointment, so I don't really have a problem actually doing that. And also, I don't have a problem not confirming it. So I think vetting it is important. I think if Ms. Carlson would like to come and participate in the discussion, I think at minimum, before I was comfortable voting for a reappointment, I'd like to see her come. I did invite her a couple of years ago because there were some community concerns about it. She was perfectly able to come, answer the concerns, discuss that. And so I think that's a point, to consider, that several of us on this board have said people shouldn't just have autopilot reappointments. We should have some of them come in and tell us what's going on, what they're up to. And if there is specifically the feeling of the chair, then why would I ever want to be a volunteer chair anywhere if people are just going to say, nope, you're going to deal with whoever we appoint. And then even when you make a strong, position to your liaison, that you'd like some fresh attendance or even maybe some opening of, space for others, that's not going to be heard. I do agree that Ms. Rinaldi's done a lot of work and a great job. I don't necessarily dispute that Judy Carlson has done a lot for the city in the past and has certainly been recognized, but as was pointed out in the letter, she is also on other committees. We just reappointed her to another one, I want to say, if not the last meeting, the one before. So I do think it's important for other people to have opportunities, and we can expand committees, but the Cultural Connection Committee is a case point in that if we just keep expanding committees, then sooner or later it becomes very unwieldy and we have trouble just meeting quorum.
Correct. Alderman Johnson.
Thank you very much. I concur with my colleague from Ward 4. I've asked numerous times, and this is the perfect example, to have brought her in when there's a letter here saying, don't reappoint her, when we should have the chance to speak to her. And also the other appointment of Maggie Harper. I don't know these people. I know her name is very familiar to me, Judith Carlson, over the years being in the city, but I don't remember if I know her. And when you have a letter, someone who does not want to see the reappointment, and the mayor wants her as a reappointment. I think this is a good opportunity to get that chance to meet with her and listen to her. So I would like to make a motion to hold her in committee until we can get her to come in and speak to us. A nomination.
I don't know.
No
holding-
motion to hold.
There's no motion to hold. You can table her reappointment.
Table, same thing.
Which is not debatable.
It's not debatable. I think everyone's spoken.
I mean-
The motion is to table the reappointment by roll call.
All right, Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Derek Tebow says no. Alderman Paula Johnson.
Yes.
Alderman at large Ben Clemens.
No.
Alderman Shoshana Kelly. Alderman at large Shoshana Kelly.
Yes.
So 3-2, it's tabled. All right, we also have to recommend the following new appointment to the Cultural Connections Committee. Julia Strazenko, God, I definitely got it wrong that time, with a term to expire March 10th, 2029. Just take that one.
Yeah, we can take
One
them
at a
all
time.
separate, it's fine.
Okay.
For the discussion, you've heard the motion, discussion on that motion? Roll call.
All right, Alderman Thomas Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Derek Tebow says yes. Alderman Paula Johnson.
Yes.
Alderman at large Ben Clemens.
Yes.
Alderwoman at large Shoshana Kelly.
Yes.
5-0, she passes. Congrats. She'll have to come in to get sworn in at a later date. Also to recommend, how do you want to do this one? You want to split it?
Well, we're recommending this, right? The full board actually confirmed it. It's a nuance, but like the full board actually votes on all these too.
So what's your point? I'm sorry, I'm trying to
We
follow.
just said she's in, let's bring her in to
Oh.
sworn, but that's like,
Yeah, when she, well,
president's gonna bang her little gavel in.
yeah, that's true. All right, to recommend the following reappointment and new appointment to the Planning Board, Maggie Harper with a term to expire March 31st, 2029, and Joseph McIntyre with a term to expire May 12th, 2029.
Any discussion? Alderman Johnson.
Yes. Is it possible we could split that, because I'd like to vote for Mr. McIntyre, but I won't vote for Maggie Harper because I don't know who she is. So I'm going to ask to split.
You split the vote.
All right, I'd like to recommend the following appointment and following appointment to the Planning Board, Maggie Harper with a term to expire March 31st, 2029.
Reappointment.
Reappointment, sorry.
Discussion.
I think is it a motion to table or can I?
No, it's just,
Oh, no,
she
it's
just asked them
so, I
separately.
mean, I don't have a problem with hearing Maggie come in and present again. She also doesn't have literally a letter from the chair saying, we think we would like someone to take this space, so I'm very neutral on it, but I probably would err on the side of, sure, she can just come in and talk. I don't think there's gonna run out of people.
Alderman Tebow.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, I've been on the Planning Board with Maggie Harper and on the Historic District Commission for the last 2 years with her, and she's been excellent. So that's, I mean, you're only getting my point of view, but I think she's done a great job from what I've seen, but
Yeah, I would not be in favor of bringing her in for a new interview. Her resume was in the packet. I've heard from a number of people that she's doing a good job, and there's, to Alderman Lopez's point, there's no contentious email here, so.
Well, just to clarify, I have no problem with her coming in if she wants to. I don't necessarily see a reason to, you know.
Oh, good. All right, all set?
All right.
Roll, please.
Alderman Tom Lopez.
Yes. Wait, yes.
Yes, reappointment, yes.
Alderman at large Ben Clemens.
Yes.
There you go.
Okay. Alderman Derek Tebow says yes. Sorry, I took that out of order a little bit. Says yes. Alderwoman or Alderman Paula Johnson.
No.
And Alderwoman at large Shoshana Kelly.
Yes.
So it's 4-1, that passes. So she will be reappointed at the board. And then to recommend the following new appointment to the Planning Board, Joseph McIntyre with a term to expire May 12th, 2029.
Any discussion? Roll, please.
All right, Alderman Thomas Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Derek Tebow says yes. Alderman Paula Johnson.
Yes.
Alderman at large Ben Clemens, Vice Chair.
Yes.
And Alderwoman at large Shoshana Kelly, Chairwoman.
Yes.
It's 5-0,
That
passes.
motion carries. Thank you for the interviewees who came in, and congratulations. You'll be asked to come and be sworn in Board of Aldermen without objection. Unfinished business.
None.
New business resolutions.
We have R-26-027, establishing an advisory aldermanic joint committee for the upcoming library renovations and addition project. I'd like to make a motion to recommend final passage.
It's my understanding this is pretty standard in terms of putting together an ad hoc, but I do see that Director Cummings is here if he wants to quickly talk to it.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Tim Cummings, Director of Administrative Services, and also this evening, I believe we also have the Library Director, Jennifer McCormick, with us. And as you noted, this is rather housekeeping. I want to take a moment and point out that actually about 6-9 months ago, we actually came before the Board of Aldermen with a communication suggesting this type of process. That communication was actually officially adopted, where both the library trustees and the Board of Aldermen expressed a desire of creating a joint committee to oversee the library renovation project. And so now this is just the follow-on legislation to actually make it official, and it follows the normal type of process and procedure that we have set up both with our other joint committees, whether that is the Joint Committee on Infrastructure and Police Commissioners or the Board of Public Works. It follows the similar language, and it will follow the similar process and procedures. I will leave my comments there, but I did want to ask for your favorable recommendation on this legislation this evening. I'll leave my last comment to say that I believe this legislation is up before the Library Board of Trustees tomorrow night, where we'll be seeking its favorable recommendation, and I'm hoping that we can get final passage at the next Board of Aldermen meeting, because we have been working to get contracts ready for approval that I would like to get on this body's agenda for the end of May, early June type time frame. And so I would ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Cummings. Director McCormick, did you want to speak, or you good?
No, I don't, I'm just here to answer questions if there are.
Okay, great. Okay, you've heard the motion. Discussion. Okay. Call the roll, please.
All right, Alderman Thomas Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Derek Tebow says yes. Alderman Paula Johnson.
No.
Alderman at large Ben Clemens, Vice Chair.
Yes.
And Alderwoman at large Shoshana Kelly, Chairwoman.
Yes.
4-1, it passes.
New business ordinances.
We have O-26-004, repealing the prohibition on camping on public property. I'd like to make a motion to recommend final passage.
Thank you. I'm going to speak to this as it's my legislation. My intent this evening is to table this and the next one, as I've been working with a number of aldermen on suggested amendments. I wasn't the first one who came up with an idea to look at this. Don't want to quash any conversation, but there are amendments that are being worked on, and I would like to have the time to get that right. Okay, move to table.
Objections here. I also would point out,
Huh? Go ahead.
I said no objections here. I was working on one more along the lines of removing or creating contingencies for the financial penalties.
Correct.
Given that we're possibly replacing an alderman, I think we should probably, out of respect, just hold off on that.
Yeah, and that was one of my suggestions, was that, because I think it may come down from an estate as well as like a few other things. But yeah, I think that was also on my mind. So if there's no other objections, I will move to table.
All right, motion is to table. Alderman Thomas Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Derek Tebow says yes. Alderman Paula Johnson.
Yes.
Alderman at large Ben Clemens.
Yes.
And Alderwoman at large Shoshana Kelly.
Yes.
5-0, it is tabled. All right, we also have O-26-005, repealing the prohibition on campers and recreational vehicles on public property. I'd like to make a motion for final passage.
I'd like to move to table.
All right, that's,
Do you want to talk about it?
Just as a point of order, would it be possible to find out from the parking department what the cost of enforcing this has been?
Sure.
Because as I recall the discussion, we were collecting RVs and weren't sure what we were going to do with those.
Oh, we put them on a lot in Gilson. But yes, I'm happy to have that information when we get to the amendments on this. Sorry, I went too fast on that one. Does anyone else have comments? All right, now I move to table.
All right, motion is to table. Alderman Thomas Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow is a yes. Alderman Paula Johnson.
Yes.
Alderman at large Ben Clemens.
Yes.
And Alderwoman at large Shoshana Kelly.
Yes.
It's 5-0. It is tabled. Also, we have O-26-006, repealing address requirement for public comment. I'd like to make the motion for final passage.
Okay, as a point of privilege, I will ask Alderman Morgan if she wants to speak to her legislation as a prime sponsor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just quickly, this was something that was brought up that we saw in our emails about a lawsuit that came forward from somebody that was required to give their address, and then when they realized that they had to, decided not to speak in public comment. I wavered back and forth a little bit on this one. It is a nicety to know where somebody lives, but it's not like we ever fact check it. So somebody could give us the wrong address and we wouldn't know. So hence the legislation that has come forward. There is nothing saying that they necessarily have to, and we wouldn't have verified it anyway. So I do think it is kind of a moot point, although it is something that is nice to have.
Discussion? Alderman Tebow.
Thank you. I'm not one for putting in legislation in reaction to a suit, especially in this case where the person was a bad actor to begin with. They weren't even from the state, let alone the city. And I think that, it's a simple requirement just to ask for an address. And if they're scared about it, give another address, give a work address, give a friend's address. It's not that difficult to do that. I just don't like a reaction to that. I think it's a stupid lawsuit. And I don't know if they were trying to push for that or not. And if they were, then that's a terrible thing, like to come in here and to do something to try to sue us. I just think is garbage. There's enough suits in the city going after us. And so I just don't want to bend to someone because, what if we change it from you no longer have to give your last name? I don't know. Why do we need your last name? Just say your first name. Why do we need a name? Just come up and speak. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how far is this going to go? Is somebody going to do one of those acts and then we got to say, oh, well, we got to get rid of the name too. And that's not too far off because that's all we ask for, name and address. So maybe we do what some other towns do and just say, you have to be from Nashua, so we need your address, which I don't want to do because there's surrounding towns where some of the things we do impacts them. So, the dump or the landfill, or I should say the wastewater, that affects other towns. So, there is reason for people from other towns to come in here and speak. I don't know about other states, but I'm not going to support this at this point just because I don't want to bend to what I think is a bad actor here.
Alderman Lopez, did I see your hand?
Yeah, so I plan to send this up to the full board because I think the full board needs to actually discuss it as much as offending the holy sin of doing your work in communities. I do think everyone should weigh in on this largely because of what my colleague has just said. I do think that, I would point out, as was earlier said with the communication, you hear about this in the news and it looks like we shut down a comment, and that's where people really need to watch the video because we invited the person back. We said you could give a business address. Alderman Clemens tried to kind of say well, could we suspend it? And because it's in our ordinances, the attorney had said, well, you can't suspend it. And as is pointed out, there's a lot of people who will come up and speak and they'll just give a business address or a general address. There's been people who speak who can't give an address. So I do think that there's already some inherent latitude here, and I don't think we would remove this specifically because of a lawsuit. But I don't want to create any barriers to people who want to make public comment. I think largely this is designed because we assume that people would want to acknowledge that they were residents. You know, this predates the internet and all of the social media stuff. If you said your address in the past, wasn't that big a deal because you're basically in a phone book that everybody had, and they could look you up and reach you. I think we're getting to the point now, though, where we do have people who come in from other places who are more interested in that quick little spot in front of our podium, so they can put it on their TikTok, go viral with their cause or whatever. And I don't know that removing the address is going to prevent that. I think it's just going to make it so that we don't know who our neighbors are and who they aren't. I know when we were talking about the human rights legislation that I put forth last year, that was partly because a lot of people were making public comments on an issue, and I recognized as alderman that a lot of them were from my ward, and I should probably engage them because this was an issue that was important to them, and until they made public comment, I hadn't been directly approached on it. So there's a lot of value in people being able to give their name and address. If we don't ask for it, I think then when people come up to the podium, they're not going to think to give it, or it will kind of take on a stigma. So I think I will support moving this to the full board, hoping that we'll have a more robust discussion at that point.
Alderman Clemmons?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. A couple of things. I think when I got the email from, first of all, I agree with Alderman Tebow. I think the lawsuit's ridiculous, and I think, you know, this was, in my opinion, a person who was looking for trouble and found it. But that being said, you know, there are things that we do as a government that certainly could be considered to be unconstitutional, or at least, you know, out of practice, or you know, our practices, you know, need to be updated with the times. And I think, you know, we live in a different world than we did probably when this ordinance was written originally. You know, you didn't have the type of political violence that we see nowadays. You know, people didn't feel threatened that if they went out and they spoke in public that they were going to be retaliated against by their neighbors. So, you know, Nashua tends to be, we're definitely a better place, and, you know, that type of stuff doesn't generally happen here, and that's a good thing. But I can certainly understand somebody feeling a little bit uneasy about having to give their address out there and on the record. So, you know, for me, I to be honest with you, I really don't. I don't care, which is exactly why I sponsored this legislation, because I don't think it's relevant. I think what's relevant is hearing somebody who was interested enough to come to the meeting in the first place, to give their testimony and their time to sit through the meeting. I want to hear what they have to say, because clearly the person, if they do that, they have a stake, or they at least have a feeling about what's going on, that they want to tell us something. So I think at that point it's my job to listen regardless of where their address is from. And that's why in the past I have, you know, not supported things like trying to restrict the people only people from Nashua can speak and things like that, because again, as was pointed out, there's a lot of things that Nashua does that affects other communities, and in addition to that, there's a lot of people who own property in Nashua who are not from Nashua and don't live in Nashua, but they still have a stake in Nashua. And so we want to be as open as possible to as many different people as we can, and we want to get those different perspectives. So, you know, from my point of view, this is just updating our ordinances with the times that we live in, and I think the last thing that I will say in regards to other aldermen having an opportunity to debate it, the opportunity was tonight. And, there's not a lot of people here, so I would assume that, in my opinion, this is hopefully gonna be something that's non-controversial and goes through. It's not to stifle debate at the board level, but again, we say time and time again, the work is done in the committee. Well, it's true. So if somebody had a strong opinion about this, they should have been here tonight. And that's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Alderman Johnson.
Johnson, thank you. I've read this and I thought about this, and people don't like to give their addresses, I understand. But I'd like to know where they're coming from, if they're Manchester or Nashua. So I'd like to amend this to say, speaker shall identify him or herself by name and city or town when beginning to speak.
Alderman Lopez.
Just to the maker of the motion, I had kind of entertained a similar thing, and I was considering asking Alderman Morgan or the committee how they would feel about amending it. Instead of saying shall identify him or herself by name and address, shall be asked to identify, because that then allows them to just, if they're really going to say no, then they can say no. But we asked, and the ordinance is now saying we'll ask instead of they have to identify. So I just wanted to put that out there. I think I would probably support either direction.
I'd love to hear the sponsor's response to this, since I imagine this is new for her, but I see your hand and I see Ben's hand.
I'll let Ben go first, please.
Alderman Tebow?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead, Alderman
Oh,
Clemens.
sorry.
Go ahead.
So, thank you. My only response to it would be that I would want to get Corporation Council's opinion on it, because they identified, specifically address, right? And so I guess where I would want to further understand is does that concept, go to the city that they live in, or the town that they live in, and would that be as strong a lawsuit, right? So in other words, if we did amend it to say, okay, I'm Ben from Nashua, when I come up and I speak, would that hold the same weight as I'm Ben Clemens, I live on 188 Ash Street? Is that the same level of risk, I guess, is the best way to put it. So I don't mind entertaining it, but I definitely want to get a legal opinion on it.
Alderman Tebow?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I mean, I like this compromise. Obviously, the motion is, or the bill is to repeal something, so this would repeal address requirement and add a city or town. I think that's, I mean, the thing is too, is we do that now in some ways. I've heard someone come up here, every week and say, I work in Nashua, I live in Manchester. She doesn't give her Manchester address. She just says Manchester and Nashua, that's all she says. But no one ever stops her on that. And when we had the Palestinian issue come up with the Palestinian and the Israeli issue, when people wanted us to put out a message, we had one of the leaders there would come up and he'd be like, I'm from Manchester. No one ever said, give your full address from Manchester. So we were technically, going against our ordinance the whole time. So if this person would have said, I'm from Amesbury, Massachusetts, would we have let him speak? He did say he was from Massachusetts. We knew that. So, so it's we kind of do that now in certain cases when we never stop somebody for that. So I could live with this, although I agree with Alderman Clemens' point is I would want to make sure it's run by legal to just make sure it lowers the risk. I mean, no, I wasn't gonna side with the original one anyway, but I do like that compromise. I think it's easier for someone to say just their city, and that's my thoughts.
I'm going to Do you mind if I speak first, Alderman Lopez? I haven't talked at all yet. The original repeal, I was not for. This amendment, I agree with wanting to hear from legal on that, but my overall, it feels very counter to who I am, is that we are very permissive with our public comment, and there have been a lot of bills that have come in to change and change and change it, and we don't even need to have public comment, but I don't think we should go that route. But we are very permissive, and if we ask for simple addresses, our addresses are on the ballot. I think that's more scary these days. So if you can't state your address as a requirement to have public comment, and you've sat here all night, then, I mean, it's very clearly outlined what we ask for. And we ask for decorum, and we ask for a lot of things because we want to keep our meeting running and for us to be informed. And I think it's important that we know, because we are so permissive, we don't have an end to our public comment. So how do I know if we fill this room with 100 people from Boston, Massachusetts? How do I know why they're here, what they're looking for? Am I actually their representative? I don't know that if we don't ask them to bring their address forward. So I have a lot of problems with this. I am happy to go along with the committee in terms of, do we want to work on it? Do we want to have legal come to the next meeting? But in general, I think we have permissive public comments. We allow people to speak. I think that is appropriate. I've always thought that was right. I didn't like when we started telling them how they could talk to us or what words were right. But this is a pretty simple requirement. And I feel like we're putting a solution out that isn't, it's in search of a problem. Alderman Lopez.
I just want to speak for myself. I wasn't aware of us ever not enforcing the ordinance per se. I just considered address to be somewhat more open-minded. If someone's at least going to give their address as in Manchester, the ordinance doesn't specifically say you have to give your street number, your street, and all that kind of stuff. So I never viewed it that way, but I think we should probably check with legal on what constitutes an address before we get too much further too.
Well, and furthermore, if you are of no fixed address, does that mean you can't speak?
Yeah, and so it is complicated. And they do give their general location address, and many people identified the address of the warming station. So I think generally people do make an effort, and my observation of the events that transpired originally was that person wasn't even going to tell us in general where they were from. So that was their choice.
The motion on the floor is to amend. Roll.
Alderman Thomas Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow says yes.
Did we have
What's the question? Go ahead.
Did we have Alderman Morgan weigh in? Because I think she just yielded her time to everyone and we forgot to check.
Oh, she did. Thank you. We could pause the roll.
Pause the
Alderman
roll.
Morgan, did you want to speak? I had asked originally what you thought about the amendment, and then you yielded.
Alderman Clemens said exactly what I would have. Thank you.
Can you repeat, please? Because I don't remember back that far.
Thanks, Madam Chairwoman, for not remembering me.
Wow.
Just kidding.
If you gave your address, you'd remember. Oh, wait, you did.
If your address had been in part of it.
I did give.
And it was right in the middle of it.
You had said you wanted legal
To look at it.
to look at it.
Correct. Yes, just for the clarification on the verbiage.
Okay. So if the motion is to amend, but two of the people are asking for legal weigh-in, we just need to consider that. Alderman Tebow.
So when it gets to the board, if this passes in the way it is now, and it goes to the board, we need to make sure legal has seen this amendment and can give us either a legal word in an email or actually they'll be there to make sure they're ready to tell us if this is true or not. We have hands raised, so.
My response to that would be we continually talk about doing the work in the committee, so I would prefer it to be here, but Alderman Clemens and then Alderman Johnson.
So, here's what this is one of those where if we were going to pass how it was originally written, I would say that the work should be done here in the committee. and we would move it on and hopefully, either give it an up or down at the next Board of Alderman meeting. Where we're talking about, where we are talking about amending it, the timeline in regards to the lawsuit that is hanging over our heads is the same. And so if we delay it, if we amend it and then, if we don't amend it and we table it, or we amend it and then table it here in the committee, that brings it to June, which then brings it to the second Board of Alderman meeting, in June, and now we're even a month further along, right? And then do we give more credence to that lawsuit? So my opinion is I'm okay with the amendment insofar as, like, if we do amend it and then move it forward to the full Board of Aldermen, that we get an opinion that night or beforehand, that it's either going to pass muster or it's not. And I think we then can make a decision, do we send it back to committee for more work, or do we just say, hey, no, we want to keep getting people's addresses and we'll go forward with the lawsuit. So I at the risk of having debate at the Board of Aldermen, I think with a lawsuit hanging over our heads, I think it's a different story. And so I would be in favor of amending and then moving forward and getting an opinion from legal.
Motion on the floor is to amend.
You have a question?
Yeah, I'm just,
Alderman Johnson?
thank you. I'm just going to concur with Alderman Clemmons, because that's what basically I was going to say, is that let's amend it, and then before the meeting, legal can see it, and then tell us up or down at the meeting and whether or not we have to send it back to committee. But this way, we're covering our bases right now. Somebody else doesn't come in and try to say, we're going to get another lawsuit because we didn't do anything about this. So we're making it simple now.
Roll.
Do I start where I left off, or?
Just start from the beginning.
All right, Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow says yes. Alderman Paula Johnson.
Yes.
Alderman at Large Ben Clemmons.
Yes.
And Alderwoman at Large Shoshana Kelly.
No.
Okay, it passes 4-1 as amended. I guess that's it, right, for that one?
No, we need to make a
No,
motion.
Oh, now we make a motion to, okay. Now the motion on the floor is repealing address requirement for public comment, but amending it to allow, to ask when a,
Motion to recommend as amended, is all you need to
okay,
do.
motion to recommend as amended.
Discussion. So my request is that we would send it with no recommendation.
So is that a motion?
It is a motion. Any discussion on that? Okay, the motion on the floor is to, what do we,
Motion to send with no recommendation
yeah,
of O-26-006
as amended.
as amended.
Roll, please. Oh, Alderman Clemmons, go ahead. Go ahead, Alderman Clemmons.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I muted myself. I don't agree with that. I think we should give the Board of Aldermen some sort of direction. I think it passed 4-1 here. We like the amendment. I think we should move it forward as favorable. So I won't support that motion.
All right. Roll.
All right, Alderman Lopez.
No.
Alderman Tebow votes yes. Alderman Johnson.
No.
Alderman Clemmons. Alderman at Large Clemmons.
No.
And Alderman at Large Shoshana Kelly.
Yes.
All right, 3-2, that fails. All right, now the motion on the floor is to
Recommend final passage.
recommend
as
final passage as amended.
Roll.
All right, Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow votes yes. Alderman Paula Johnson.
Yes.
Alderman at Large Ben Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderwoman at Large Shoshana Kelly.
No?
That passes 4-1. All right, so now we're good on that one? Yikes, sorry, Donna. All right, next is O-26-007, amending the unaffiliated employees' personnel policies by adding a medical insurance coverage, opt-out stipend. I'd like to recommend final passage. We seem to have lost Director Cummings.
Director Cummings texted me he'll leave by 9, and we went a little long, so
Oh.
it's up to the committee whether we want.
He was here?
He was here until like 10 minutes ago.
Why was he in his bunker and not up here?
Right,
It's up to the committee whether they want to.
yeah, I know nothing about this, so.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to go forward with it.
Madam
Alderman
Chair?
Clemmons? Yep.
Do we know, and I forgive me because I don't know if it's in the ordinance or not, would this take effect in July,
I don't know
or is
anything.
this like something immediate?
I don't remember, and I was hoping to get an overview from Tim. That's just my own personal background, but
Yeah. I guess I would be okay with tabling.
is that a motion?
At the risk of stifling debate, I make a motion to table.
Heard the motion.
All right, the
Roll.
motion is to table. Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow says yes. Alderman Paula Johnson.
Yes.
Alderman at Large Ben Clemmons.
Yes.
And Alderwoman at Large Shoshana Kelly.
Yes.
5-0, it is tabled.
Tabled in committee.
Is anything getting taken out?
Not that I've heard of.
Okay. Then we have none.
Public comment, there is literally nobody here with us. General discussion. I see no hands. Any remarks by Alderman? Alderman Lopez.
Once again, I apologize to my colleague for poorly wording it. I think I was trying to answer a procedural question and didn't really realize I was stepping on her. And then I just also wanted to reiterate what I said earlier. The Tree Streets Block Party is planned for June 13th. Anybody who's interested in attending, please save the date and reach out to me for details.
It's a great event. It's one of my favorites. Alderman Johnson.
Thank you. Alderman Lopez, don't worry about it. I understand.
And when I step in it, I really got to make sure that I
Yeah, no,
acknowledge
we
it.
got the same, so don't worry about it. I don't get worried about it. I want to say this was a very good meeting this evening, and thank you very much for the discussions.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
By roll
I
call.
roll.
All right, Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow's a yes. Alderman Paula Johnson.
Yes.
Alderman at Large Ben Clemmons.
In honor of Alderman Lopez, no.
Oh. Well, what if I say no? Then we have to stay here.
Alderman at Large, Alderwoman at Large Shoshana Kelly.
Yes, please.
All right, it's 4-1. We are adjourned at
9:12.
9:12.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, see ya.
This meeting having to go to the
Do you
bathroom.
need this for the record, or did you have?